This all takes place in Pomona. We had a great time growing up, and the thing is we always sit around, talk about a story about remember this, remember that. Well, now actually, thanks to the Doss Center, we're able to put it in writing, pictures, and action. Some of our participants are former musicians, are still musicians, are people that have always been our roadies or what have you. Steve Amata, Edmund Benales, Henry Gonzalez, Mario Hernandez, David Reyes, Martin Perez, Phil Romero. We all have some type of music background or following that we did during this wonderful time.
Of Pomona, the golden era of music, 1955 to 1975. You all remember this time and era. It's a celebration of music, musicians, and the vibrant culture in Pomona during the 50s to the 70s, shared through the collective voices of Pomona residents who wish to give legacy to this history in our community and to build a foundation for present and future generations to tell our story.
We're talking about a time when music, the sound of music was taking us to a place in our minds that was encompassing all of the stuff we were experiencing at that time. Historically, the nation was kind of wild and crazy. I mean, you can get into the Kennedy assassination, the launching of the rocket stuff, and just all that stuff that we grew up with, the alarm about we're going to get maybe bombed by Russia. But you know what? Through it all, the music was there. So now today, when we hear it, and our brothers that played it, we can reflect on, wow, where was I? What did I experience? It's almost like getting a rejuvenation moment where you feel so good about the music. That's part of what we're doing. I remember several of the groups you played in. Can you maybe name some of those bands?
From the earliest ones, it was like from the Gonzalez brothers, which changed it to Moving Through, Hounds and Wolves, and then eventually the Royal Gents. The Royal Gents was the one where, it's kind of like, okay, this is the band that's, got a possibility of fame. And we did record on, with Rhino Records, the East Side Renaissance, and I wrote the 45 that was released for that album. It was called Lady Love. And everything went really well. They were going to take us on the road. Mucho Morales from KRLA got involved. And my wife's mother was dying of cancer at that point in time. And for me, I never dreamed like, I'm going to be a rock star. That wasn't my focus. My focus, I wanted to have a good life and raise a family.
What was the first real band that you were in?
Which was the Vandals. We were the Junior Velveteens initially. Right? Okay, Richard Valenzuela was our band leader. His brothers were the Velveteens, which were Johnny Valenzuela and Danny Valenzuela, who's a drummer. So Danny was my go-to guy practicing, teaching me how to play the drums, rock and roll style. Danny was a mean man. It was a lot of fun, but Danny was my go-to.
Where did you practice? What backyards, garage, or
Tony Loza and I started with Pretty Woman at his house. And we rocked there for a while, and then we went to Richard Valenzuela's house, which was his father was Mario Valenzuela, who was the manager of the Velveteens.
Wow.
So he continued on with the younger Velveteens, which was us, and he micromanaged us a little bit, and then we moved on to the Benales.
Zeke and I have played in bands together, God man, since the mid-60s. We had a stretch there where we were in a couple of groups together. And then I remember Ernie Padilla, I guess during one of your guys' rehearsals, he said something like this. He said, I think we need a saxophone player. Do you know anybody that plays sax? He was asking me. And I said, well, I have a saxophone. Yeah, why don't you try it out with us, So I did, and they said, yeah, to my surprise. I go, okay, I'll play in the band. And that band was called the Meanwhats. The Meanwhats. And Zeke and I always throughout the years.
Wait a minute.
Was that the Meanwhats?
No, it wasn't the Meanwhats. We were called the...
was that the Royal Gents?
The Royal Gents.
That was the Royal, that's right.
Yeah, because the Meanwhats came at the end of that, in my little scenario, playing in a band. but we were called the Royal Jazz. And David's mother used to make our costumes.
Yeah,
Because she was a seamstress, no?
she was a seamstress, yes.
And we had silk shirts, man, big collars, ruffle on our shirts.
We put ruffles on our sleeves.
Yeah, all that, man.
25, 30 of us.
Oh, that's a big club.
And our club jackets were like all of $5, which was a lot back then.
Which we have here, by the way, an original, this says the Uniques
The Uniques of
of
Pomona.
Pomona. You know, so that was a big statement, you know, of Pomona on there, you know, for you guys to wear, you know, to go to other cities
I
to.
think, in fact, the one that designed the jacket was Smiley Quiñones.
Who arranged for your wardrobe when you performed? Who decided on what you guys wore?
I did.
You
for
did?
me.
Okay.
Mhm. I used to sew a lot of our band outfits, me and
You
my
used to
sister.
sew, okay.
And the girls, we used to just talk about it and coordinate that way.
Uh-huh.
So,
Besides the yellow glitter outfit and all that, what other did you sew? I mean, did you?
I didn't sew for the girls, but we
Oh.
would talk about, my sister I did, but the girls, we would just talk about what to wear and go out together, buy outfits that matched and, you know, things like that.
So you guys started playing almost every weekend then?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so you had to sew quite a bit to have a different outfit for every
Yeah,
gig?
well, it depended where we played. If they didn't see it, then we wore it again.
What did it feel like to be a female singer in like in an all-male, you know, crowd? In other words, all the bands were pretty much all guys, and
Yeah.
here you guys are breaking the ice there.
What
was that like? Was it a stepping stone there, or was
Well,
it
you
kind
know,
of difficult?
it's funny how the guy, it's not funny, but it was great that the boy bands were very accepting of girl singers. I think for myself, whenever I would go someplace and I knew there was going to be a girl singer, I definitely had to be there because I just thought, maybe because I am a girl, that it just added something to these bands when they would have girl singers.
Uh-huh.
And so the guys were at first very accepting and very nice, you know, thought, hey, that I knew. Now, somebody could have said something behind my back, but at that time they were just very, very accepting.
Everybody just did what they did, and
Yeah.
we practiced together, and we all learned together.
Yeah, I gotta tell you something, because you asked about, you know, who inspired us. When I was in grade school, my favorite song was Donna by Richie Valens.
Right.
Donna, you know, I bought every album, every 45, anything that I could buy with that song on it. But because we practiced and practiced, 7 or 8 years later, we were in the same recording studio that he recorded.
Yeah.
And I
must have
thought,
been
I
pretty
go,
amazing.
man,
It
America,
was.
what a country, you know?
Yeah.
And we were kids, yeah, we were 17.
We were still kids, so it was quite amazing. Our dad used to take us to some gigs, and because we were still too young, and going into the studio and doing an album was one thing. We cut one side in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other side took how?
Took a while.
Man, it
It
took
took a while. We were burned out because we were going to school still. We were going into the studio at night during the week, you know, then playing on weekends.
Yeah.
So we got burnt for a little bit. So it took a while to finish it.
Yeah, 1 in the morning, and then get up, go to school the next day.
Frank Zappa had just built this studio over there in Archibald and right off of Foothill. And he needed someone to go in, a group to go in and try it out. So he heard our name, I guess he heard us, so he asked us to go in there. And we recorded that.
Yeah, you mentioned my brother. That is why I'm here today. He's no longer with us. His name was Charles Lett, and he was the lead singer for Ronnie and the Pomona Casuals. And also he played the little congas up in there. And so that's why I'm here today, to represent his history. And yes, we lived in the Pomona Valley since the late 50s, maybe even a little earlier. I was born in 56. Now, we have to go back to my father. He sang in local gospel groups. Back then, they didn't do recordings. But in the church, we were steeped in the church, and that's where even my brother Charles's singing ability started, in the church, which is predominant in most of the, I'm going to say, African American communities. Because back in that day, the church was the hub of the community. And so, me being a youngster in elementary school, you know, to have a brother that was a singer in a local band, man, I was like a celebrity. And once the Jerk album came out, man, I used to bring it to school and play it for the kids. He was my hero. I would say to the young people, first of all, know yourself. If you are truly moved to become a musician, learn all you can. Learn the history of music. Go back.
Music united us. We all grew up and we said, you know what? Forget about fighting. We'll fight over these women over here.
But she's the one that really, I would say, would implement the band movement. She goes, okay, I want you to dance. Go forward, go to the right, and go forward, and then come back, and then go to the left, and then come back again.
Oh, okay.
We call it the L.
Yeah,
Okay.
the L.
Yeah. Do you
I remember the L. Yeah,
You
Miss
remember,
Spinell
right?
was telling me.
And
Yeah, so after the Silvertones, the band broke up and everybody went their own way, you ended up perhaps with the Vandals next?
Correct.
Okay. So how did that happen? I know Randy Soto was your
Right,
original member.
that's how that happened. Well, Henry Banales was my cousin, so we,
Okay.
yeah, and so
So he knew about the Silvertones through you, probably.
probably, yeah. Well, we lived walking distance
Yeah.
from each other, so we knew each other already.
I started playing drums from when I got with Randy Soto. Randy lived right down the street from me, and he got a set of drums, a real nice set of pearl drums, and I go, man, I got to get me a set of drums eventually so I can play, you know, because I like playing. So my mom and dad, they couldn't afford to buy me a new set of drums, you know, because they're kind of expensive, and so I said, I got to find me some. So my mom had a catalog, certain kind of catalog so you can order stuff out of, and I seen a set of drums in there. You know, it's a red sparkle drum, you know, the whole set. I said, well, I might as well get those, you know, I can afford those, and I'll just make payments on it.
And Henry Cardiel, who you mentioned earlier, played guitar, but he was a good singer too. He had a really strong, natural voice. One of the favorite songs I used to hear him sing was "These Only Lonely Nights." Yes. Oh man, he would belt that out like crazy, and people would respond. They would stop dancing and watch him, you know, because he was that good.
You have to give us credit though, because we basically started this little movement. Henry started this little movement.
Yeah.
And from there, somebody joined, somebody started. After a while, there was probably 5 or 6 groups in the neighborhood.
Yes.
In walking distance.
Well, Henry Cardiel was the unsung hero.
He's the one that started all of this.
Yeah,
He's
the one that really got things going.
The city of Pomona has embraced my dad for a very long time, and I've seen it firsthand, you know? So for me to be alongside him on stage tonight and bring something back to the community, it's very, very nostalgic and very special, you know?